Welcome to the Micro 3 Back Talk, probably one of the most revolutionary automotive products to hit the market in years. And to talk to us today about how easy it is to install is Mr. Tom Jakovac. Tom, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Why don't you tell myself and the installers and the people that like to install this on their vehicle a little bit about the Micro 3 Back Talk. What is it and why has it become one of the hottest automotive products in years?
Well, that's very easy. This Micro 3 unit is the only talking reversing sensor system. It does not beep, it talks, tells you the distance in feet. Starts off with 8 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, 12 inches, 11 inches, says crash. If there is a object, three-dimensional object, moving away from the reversing vehicle, this unit will say object in blind area.
So when you put your car in reverse,
it's activated.
It's activated, and as you're backing up, if there's an object 8 feet away, if there's an object 8 feet away, the Micro 3 Back Talk is actually, through a speaker, is actually going to say object 8 feet.
Speaks to the driver inside the vehicle and say 8 feet. Installation is very simple, and that's the next step that we're going to do. The aim of this installation video is to train an installer to have a general idea on how to do installations on every type of vehicle. We'll start with the Excursion first. We'll go to the Acura. The Excursion will have a bumper mount. The Acura will have, MDX will have a hinge mount. The Windstar will have the hinge mount. And then we'll go over to the pickup truck, which we will put the speaker in the cabin and do the whole installation at the back. So that's a little bit of a different installation, but nevertheless just as easy.
Fantastic. Well, let's get started. Micro 3 Back Talk. Let's start with the Excursion. Why don't you show us how to install one?
Let's examine the contents of our packet. We have the 3 sensors, hinges for a hinge installation if we need it, a speaker, and the microprocessor. There is a packet containing all the components, double-sided tape and connectors for the complete installation. So everything is in this packet. There's nothing an installer will need. The packet contains instruction manual. There's a brief instruction manual and very basic, but we'll cover more in these installation videos. At the back of the manual is a bit of an indication of the throwing of the flame from each sensor, the areas in which it works, approximate installation locations, and also some detail, a schematic diagram. Also, there is a customer warranty card and an information pack on the customer that's made the purchase, which is mailed in. These two we always leave in the glove box so that the owner of the vehicle can examine it, read it, and familiarize themselves with it. Here we have the tools for the installation that we will need. We will need to crimp the connector. I just use a plain $2 tool. An upholstery tool, which is very important to guide our speaker wire. Screwdriver to remove the right-hand taillight. A proper crimping tool. A 2-foot snake. This is ideal and handy for picking things up. And a cordless drill. The drill bit to drill the holes on the bumper is a 25/64s, and this is where we'll put our sensors.
So this is all there is to the revolutionary Micro 3 Back Talk. So why don't you go and show us how to install it and how the unit actually works.
Every vehicle is a little bit different, but the main deciding factor that you begin with is which side the processor will go on. Some vehicles you do it on the left-hand side, some you do it on the right. On the Expedition and Excursion we do it on the right-hand side. On the MDX we will do it on the left-hand side. The Windstar we will do it on the right-hand side, and the pickup truck will do it on the left-hand side. Now, what are the determining factors? The determining factors is how quickly and easily we can get the speaker and where we can place the speaker, where we can bring the sensors into the cabin to meet a processor without necessarily having to drill holes in the bodywork and so on. To install the speaker first, we remove the quick ties. Now bear in mind all of these connectors and wires and leads are machine wound. So when we pull them apart, we pull them apart from the middle and comes out very easily, and we don't make any knots and no mess. Straighten the cord out a little bit, and then we go fishing. We will install this one on the right hand side. Every surface where we apply the double-sided tape we will wash with alcohol. So we'll go inside now and we'll wash the back right hand pillar, and that's where we'll put our speaker. After we wash it, we'll leave it for a minute to dry out so that when we place our speaker on there, it will stick to it. We'll at the same time wash our bumper, where we'll do a bumper installation. There are waxes, dust, oils, and so on, and that will stop adhesion. So by alcohol cleaning it, our sensors will never come off. And now we will remove our tail light. Our reversing light on the Ford Expedition and Excursion is the black one with the purple stripe. We will pick up the power there and we will ground the unit to the body, and that will be our installation. So let's do that next. Install the brain. We will do the connectors first. We'll select the amount of wire required for us for this installation. We'll strip it. Now I will attach the connectors. Note I always rotate the wire and make a loop so that when we do our installation and we crimp over it, we will hold it very firmly, we'll never let go. And this way you get a perfect installation. Same with our ground. We'll loop that. Now we'll crimp it. Now we have a solid connection. The important thing is to have a perfect ground. The power is only half a watt or less, so that's a very small amount of power, but the ground, as in any computer equipment, is very, very important. So now let's install that. Now that we've primed our leads, let's connect the 3M connector. These are supplied in your kit. These provide an excellent connection. Now we'll ground it using a self-tapper that's provided in the kit. A firm connection is required, but do not over tighten because you will strip it, and once you strip the ground you will get false readings. Okay, now our brain is installed. That was simple, wasn't it? Now that we install that main processor, the brain, or the main module, we're going to install our speaker on the back right hand pillar, and from there we'll route the wire along the molding down in through a hole in here, or it's ready in the body, and we'll bring it into the back. We will use a snake to pick up the speaker wire and pull it in. Now that we've got it here, make sure the jack comes out, and then we'll tuck it in behind and underneath. With a few days of heat and cooling, this wire will find its location and stay there permanently, will not move. Now all we've got to bring this out to the tail light, and our speaker installation is complete. Using our snake, we will pull the speaker wire through the tail light hole, and we'll put it back through the plug and seal this up. Now we will tie up the loose wire with the power cord and the grounding wire, and using some of the tie wire we've found our leads wound up. We'll now tie it together in a nice neat installation. Thus when we hide our brain back in here with the sensor wires installed, there'll be no loose wire anywhere. Now we will install our 3 sensors. Note there are 2 8-foot leads and 1 10-foot leads. It is slightly bigger. The 10-foot lead will go to the opposite side of the brain. If the main unit is installed on the right hand side, this longer speaker wire will go on the left hand side. If it's the other way around, then it would be on the right. There'll be 1 middle detector and there'll be 1 right detector. Now when we go to plug these into the processor or the main unit, the brain, we will mark these leads. Always left-hand lead, you leave it blank. The middle lead, we tie 1 knot, and that we'll know that's a middle detector. And the right-hand one, we will tie 2 knots. We'll know this detector plugs into the right port. And that way we have 0, 1, and 2. When we install them, we will know 0, 1, and 2. The only difference is the end zones are the same, but the only difference is the middle detector detects cross-movement, cross-zone movement. So it needs to be plugged into the center port. The ideal height of the sensors is between 20 and 24 inches. The reason for that is at 5 feet, the echolocation, the beam, is the biggest. So if we install it any lower than that, we have to progressively angle it up so that at 5 feet we're not reading the road and bouncing the signal off the road. In this installation of the excursion, we will place the sensors there, and that will be a perfect location for it. Now, when installing sensors, they need to be one in the middle, as we've said, and the outside ones need to be 12 inches from the outside of the vehicle to the detector, approximately. Give or take an inch, it doesn't matter. But the further we have it outside, we will pick up objects outside here and possibly false alarm. If we put it too far in, then the detector will not give us the width that we require to keep the vehicle safe when reversing. So now, let's drill the holes, apply the detectors, and plug it in and test it. First we'll mark where we're going to drill the hole, and this is where a sensor will go, in line here. We're going to select an object on the vehicle, we can put in line with something, and we'll mark our hole. Yeah, and this is where we do our drilling. We'll drill our first hole there. The second one will be in the middle, so we'll drill our hole 1.25 inches off to the left, and this will be our hole installation. Now on the right one, we will again place it in line with an object on the vehicle. We will mark the hole where we're going to drill, and now all we need to do is drill it and guide the wires through. So let's do that now. Note the hole is 25/64s, and it's big enough to accommodate the RJ11 plug to go through. It's a very simple little hole. Now we do the middle one. We'll lift this up, we've marked it, and the final one. I'm lifting this up. That's all that's required as far as drilling. Now since we've alcohol washed the surface, all that's left for us to do now is to loosen the wire free, pull it out from the middle again, that way we don't make a mess, straighten it out because it's a flat cable. So now we'll go easy, we'll put it through, pull it all the way. Now we're ready to put on our sensor. We peel the tape, we've exposed the surface. Now we will put our sensor in place, line it up, make sure I'm going to show you now, make sure it fits nice and neatly, and press on it on the outside. Between the two sensors there is a tuning board. It's a little circuit board, so we do not press it in the middle, you've got a chance of breaking the circuit board. Let's press it on the outside. 10 minutes in the sun, and this will be hard and it will not peel off. Now we're going to guide the sensor wire underneath, all the way around, over the chrome part of the bumper. Bring it in, and now we will trace it all the way the bumper to the other side. We'll drop it over and under, and now it's ready to be brought up into our tail light. Same we'll do that with the middle one. Now this is our middle detector, and it has 1 knot so that we know when we plug it in. We peel the tape off again. place it nice and neatly over the hole in the center. Press on the outside, not on the inside, and our sensor is installed. And now we'll go to the right one. Now we'll pull it through, remove the tape. We'll place our sensor again, nice and square. Press it. Now we'll bring the wire across. This can be only done on expedition and excursion. We pull it through, pull behind, and now we have two wires. The two end wires are already in place, but the middle one we're going to put through the bumper over the top to hang with the other two. But we're also going to use a little bit of double-sided tape to hold it in place so it doesn't hang. To help us bring the cables in, we'll remove this piece of rubber, which will expose a large hole for us to draw the sensor wires in. And just make sure the wires are out nice and neat. We will tape them to the side of the vehicle, of the body, with a little bit of spare double-sided tape, and that way they will not fall down and drag out, and they'll stay there permanently. We're using a tie wire that we untied the sensor leads before. We'll tie this into a neat bunch. It's important to keep these sensor wires together and separate away from any harnesses. At no time wrap these around a harness. You will create a magnetic field in the cables and they won't work. Now, we've got to plug them in. If you remember, the one with no nuts is a left detector, so we plug that into the left port, click twice, click, 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 and it's in permanent. Now we'll do the middle one, which is one knot, one click, two clicks, it's seated. And now we'll do the one with the two knots, which is a right detector. This way now we've plugged in the right detector into the right port. And now we're ready for testing. First thing we'll do is put the parking brake on so the vehicle doesn't roll away. Turn the ignition on, don't start the engine. Put on the brake, put it in reverse. And now we heard a beep. That tells us that the unit is working. So every time we engage reverse gear, we will power up the unit and we'll hear a beep. That tells us the unit is now working. So now let's go at the back of the vehicle and we'll test each sensor. It should be able to detect me at 5 feet if we've done the installation correctly. So let's do it. Okay, so we'll start with the left one.
5 feet.
And it's at 5 feet. I'll walk away gently and come behind the middle one.
5 feet.
And we need 5 feet. Now we'll do the next one, the right one.
5 feet.
Okay, we hear 5 feet, now 3 feet.
3 feet. 2 feet.
2 feet.
12
12
inches.
inches. And we walk away from it.
Object in blind
And we
area.
hear an object in blind area.
Object in blind.
And that is sensing a three-dimensional object moving away from the vehicle when we're in reverse. It locks onto object in blind area until you take it out of reverse, and i.e. stop reversing. There could be a child, could be a dog behind it, could be something that appears to be moving away from the backing vehicle. It's just a safety precaution. No good just giving you a beep and then you don't know what's behind it. Now you know that there's something moving across the zones. If we've done our installation correctly, that's what we will hear. Now we've got to do is pack it up, tape the processor to the side of the vehicle, out of the way where moisture and any dust won't interfere with it. And now we'll close it up, put a tail light back on and hand the car over to the customer. And we're finished. In the previous installation, we did bulk of the installation on the right-hand tail light where our processor went, and we brought the speaker wire on that side. The Acura is a little bit different in its internal arrangement, so it's easier to do the installation on the left-hand side. Everything is same as previous installation. We ground it, connect to the positive wire, we bring a tap here. This is where we draw our power, less than half a watt. Our speaker is also installed inside on the back left hand pillar. Right here, we guide the wire in either underneath or above and around to the back tail light. And our speaker wire plugs in. We've picked up our power wire, the ground and the speaker wire, and that side of the installation is exactly the same. The difference is that this installation we will put our sensors on hinges underneath, and this is what we'll show you now. We will use a double-sided tape and install that on our hinge. One will go here, one will go in the middle, do the same. Later on, when we've got the right location and the right position, we will adjust these sensors for the right angle, and we will use these little self-tappers from underneath to make sure that installation is permanent. Now, one thing with these little screws, they're designed for plastic bumpers, and these hinges, when they close, the screws are hidden underneath. Okay, we'll do the last one. Now remember, we also have two different lengths of wires. We have two wires 8 foot and one 10 foot. Our 10 foot wire will be on this side. There's usually a little sticker on it, 10 foot sticker. We guide it through the hole, pull it through. And we will remove the tape slowly and glue the sensor on. Fits very nicely. Touch it on the outside, not in the middle, and that is now installed. Now all we need to do is put it in the right location, tap it from underneath, mark the wire, and then we'll bring all three wires together. Now this is a right-hand detector, so we will tie 2 knots in it, and then when we go to plug it in, we'll know it's a right detector. Okay, so we've got 2 knots. Middle one will only have 1 knot. Okay, now we're ready to place it into place. We'll prepare all 3 of them, and then when we get on the ground, we'll just do all 3 together. Now we'll install the middle detector. We'll always line it up and put in the middle. Objects on a bumper quite often give us an indication of where we need to place the sensors. So now we're going to put the first one in the middle, stick it on, and now we'll self-tap it from underneath, and our first detector is installed. We'll now do our right one, and it's going to be 12 inches in. Now we'll put it here where it'll match in with the body. Note we are close to the exhaust pipe. As long as the lead does not sit on the exhaust pipe, the temperature range of these sensors is about 150 degrees from lowest to highest, so the heat will not affect it. This bumper is generally fairly cool, especially when it's being driven, so it's not going to be a problem to us, but we'll just tuck the wire underneath to make sure it doesn't sit on the exhaust pipe. Now we'll install our left hand sensor, but because our adjusting screw, a tensioning screw, is on the right hand side, we will set it to the right angle and tighten it before we stick it on. Okay, so now we've got the right angle, we'll tighten it up, and our bracket is firm. So when we install it now here, we will have the right angle and it'll be tight. We won't have to do any more with it. So let's peel the tape off. And our detector is installed. Now we'll do likewise with the middle and the end one. The adjusting tension nut screw is on the right hand side. Not quite firm. We'll do the right one. Okay, one more step before we bring the leads in. We will screw the little self-tappers in through the bumper underneath, and that will give us a permanent installation. Okay, so let's do it. 1 and 2, and they're done. Now we're going to bring our wires in, route them where they will not hang, mud and snow will not pull on it, and make sure that the installation is nice and neat underneath. We will bring them in a nice bunch, bring them all together, bring them out, and make sure they don't hang. We will now again tape them to the surface with spare tape. Remember, this is our tape for the shims. We don't need it in this installation, so we will now tape the leads probably here like this, and they will not hang. Now we'll guide them inside the cabin and connect them. With the MDX, the wires come out through the left tail light, down with a little snake. We'll bring them out here and bring them into the cabin here. Now we're finally ready to plug in our detectors and test the unit. So one knot now is a metal detector. We'll click once. Now this is important. The second click seats it. The first click guides it in. The second click seats it into the right location. Our detector with no knots, 0 knots, is on our left hand side. One click. Now second click again, and I will do the final one. This is a right hand detector. It's got 2 knots. One click and the second click. The first click guides it in, the second click locks it into place. Now these are RJ11 plugs and they're very fine, so it's very important to get them lined up correctly. They're very close together, and that second click is the one that's required to push them into place to make the right connection. Put the parking brake on, turn the ignition on, do not start the engine, foot on the brake, put it in reverse, and we hear a beep. That tells us the unit is working, which is fine. And now we'll walk behind each sensor and test each sensor.
5 feet.
Okay, 5 feet. The next one.
5 feet.
5 feet. And the final one.
5 feet.
3 feet.
3 feet.
2 feet.
2 feet.
12 inches.
12 inches.
Okay.
Object in
And
flying
move aside, and it says object in flying area. Now installation is tested. We know it's working fine. We can now polish up. That's it. We're finished. A typical installation is a soccer mum car, and this is a Ford Windstar. Note, we've done the installation on hinges, one in the middle, 12 inches in. That's fine. There's a little bit of difference here. We're doing the installation on the right hand side. The main difference is that in order to collect our electricity and our ground, we tap in both wires. Note, we did not ground it to the body. So far that I've come across, there are 4 cars, Windstar, Ford Escape, GMC Safari, and Astrovan, Chevy Astrovan. They all need to be grounded here at the light. Otherwise, if you ground it to the body, it will be on all the time. So that's a little bit of a difference. You might experience this from time to time. The speaker wire goes in through this hole. In here, we remove the plug and install it in and put it at the back wherever customer wants. The wire is long enough to reach from the front to the back, wherever. Another difference with this installation is that this soccer mum wanted her speaker hidden and away from the sleeping children. So we've placed the speaker down the bottom here where she'll be able to hear it, and it won't wake up the children. Normally we will place it on one of the back pillars or the front pillar on the opposite side, or the same side as where we've installed the brain. There's one little difference now. We will do, which we haven't done with the other installation, and that is we will drill a hole beside our sensors bracket. Now that we've drilled the hole, we will place our wire up and then behind the brackets that support the bumper, and that way our wires will not hang. Now we'll bring all 3 of the leads into the taillight compartment. Now we'll be careful we don't wrap the leads around the exhaust pipe. We will use some spare double-sided tape. Tape them to the inside. Bunch of leads together. And 1 knot, which is a middle detector. We listen for a double click. 1, 2. 0 knots is a left detector. 2. And 2 knots is a right detector. 1, 2, and we're installed. This installation is a little bit different to the ones we've done so far. The back end is exactly the same as the Acura MDX that we did. We're going to put the hinges, sensors on hinges underneath. This particular dealer pre-installs, and by putting it on hinges, if the customer does not want the backup unit, it can be removed and reinstalled on another vehicle. Now, the only difference is now with the truck is that we've got to place the speaker at the back of the glass, routed through the vent, over the wheel arch and out to here. Again, the lead with no knots is the left hand one. Double click, 2 leads, 2 knots go into the right hand port. Click, click, installed. And now the middle one, which is only 1 knot, we're going to put that installer one in the middle. Click, click, and it's in. Now sometimes it may be necessary to adjust the volume. This model has a voice and an alarm adjustment. This is a potentiometer on the circuit board. It's a very small part, and it has only 270-degree rotation, so it will not spin right around 360 degrees. And we've got a plus and a minus. We need a small eyeglass screwdriver, and with that we can gently place it into the groove and play around with the voice to get it right. Generally it is set and needs no adjustment. And sometimes customer might say the voice is too loud, I need it brought down a little bit. So just place it in and you bring it down a little bit and very gently. Remember, if you go over the 270 degrees, you will break it and void the warranty on the unit. Okay, with this model GMC truck, we will lift up the seat, drop the jack down beside using a little snake. Pull it through. Now we've alcohol washed our surface so we can glue it straight on the back. We're at the back, it's here behind the driver's seat. The driver will be able to hear it. We will pull the jack through the breather vent and bring it to a tail light. For that you need to lay down here, feel your arm behind the moldings, feel the breather and push it through a couple of inches, and then we will use a snake to pick it up. Okay, now we'll put it over the fuel line so that it's protected. And then comes a little trick. We will use this snake with the lead hooked up to the end, and we will throw it literally over the wheel arch to the other side. That way we don't need any other tools. Okay, so you line yourself up, and now that we've thrown it, you can hear it, we pull it out, and we've got just enough length to bring it up to our tail light. And now we can pull it through this tight little spot, and our speaker cable is out. Now, in the cases where the truck is a little bit too long, we can cut the speaker wire in half and extend it as much as we need it. For RV vehicles, we have a 40-foot extension. In some cases of flat top trucks, like stake bed trucks, we have a 26-foot sensor wire. So you can replace the ordinary sensor wires with a 26-foot length and then install the main unit in the cabin. And this is our speaker wire extension. It's 140-foot long, ideal for limos, RVs, buses and the like. But if need be, if you only need a couple of feet, 5 feet, you can always cut the speaker wire, rejoin it. It does not void the warranty. Neither does cutting the sensors, leads, and reconnecting the jack. But to save time and effort and buying connectors, RJ11 connectors. It's much easier to bundle up the excess wire into a bunch and just store it inside. We will use, again, a little bit of double-sided tape to stop the speaker wire from sliding back. Install it here. Now, we will plug it in. Our installation is now complete.
5 feet.
5 feet. 3
3
feet.
feet. 2 feet. 12 inches. Object in
All
blind
3
area.
detectors work fine.
Object in blind
We
area.
can close it and we'll tape the brain. Keep in shape. Last thing to do is put our globes back. And finish the installation. There we are, done. Another one successfully completed. Now we'll just recap on the components and do a brief summary on how to connect the unit. The hinges for a hinge installation, speaker, module. Remember, the instruction card goes in the glove box so the customer knows what they've got. We've got a complete installation kit with all the double-sided tape in here. The speaker jack plugs in, 2 taps into the reversing wire, and our 3 connectors get connected left, center and right, and we use knots to mark which one, 0, 1, 2 for left, center and right. If need be, we can do an installation with hinges, and we've got one on this car. The speaker needs to go anywhere within 5 feet of the driver's ear. That's about it.